Chapter 99 ZZZ. ZZZ. There are 6 moons in the One Piece world. One of these 6 moons even has its moon. Not all moons are visible at the same time, though there are special cases. On some days of the year, all 6 plus 1 moons are visible from the surface of the earth, for the sake of simpleness. Or maybe Oda was just lazy. The moons are called Moon 1, Moon 2, Moon 3, Moon 4, Moon 5, Moon 6, and Moon 1, respectively. They are all named based on their distance. Amon and Raki were going to the closest moon, Moon 1, the planet where the winged race once resided, Vroom. After starting the bike, it took more than 2 hours for the moon's surface to fully show up in their eyes. The ride was fast, but it was smooth. There was no shaking. It was as if they weren't going somewhere, rather the place was coming towards them. The reason was that the engine was not started at all. Seeing the fairy Verth not so far, Raki hugged Amon tighter. Bro, look, it's the moon. It's the fairy Verth. Raki seemed ecstatic, happy to be here. She felt sweat dripping down her back, even though the bike's AC was turned on. She was truly excited. Raki has heard about the moon from many folklore, and even Amon has told her about a small portion of the winged people's history. Amon ignored her rampage and kept driving. He doesn't need to control the steering with his hands. All the labor was done by his lightning. So that's the One Piece world's moon from up close. While the countless stars in the cosmos were glowing, Amon's mind was in a peaceful state. He was trying to understand the cosmos, the universe itself, with his small hands touching the transparent metal's lids, trying to grasp the massive moon with his small hands. He briefly recalled what had happened this month before noticing that he was very close to the moon. Who would have thought I would get to visit the moon in my life? Even though this is my second. Grinning lightly, Amon started to insert electricity into the vehicle's engine as the motors inside started to spin for the first time. He decided to not just teleport anymore, and rather go there at a moderate speed, using the engine of the bike for the first time. After flying for a few more minutes, the bike was very close to the surface. Thud, Amon jumped on the surface of the moon. Surprisingly, it made a small sound. To double-check, Amon took a deep breath. Phew. After releasing the air, Amon smiled reassuringly and looked at Raki. Raki, you can get out of the suit. There is air here. Up until now, Raki was breathing oxygen through a pipe connected to the suit and an oxygen tank on her back. Though, don't remove the oxygen tank yet. First, block the pipe. Then just open a small part of the suit and get used to the air, all right. If you feel uncomfortable, close the part you opened and unblock the pipe. Remember, don't unblock the pipe without closing the open part, or you die. Raki gulped at his last line. For a second, she felt a little jealous that Amon could breathe freely, but she couldn't. After doing what he said, she nodded silently and stood up. However, Raki stumbled on her feet. It would seem the less gravity caught her off guard. Amon caught her mid-air and roughly placed her on his shoulders, carrying her on her stomach. How useless, Raki. Learn some science. Ugh, Raki struggled. Amon started to float in the air with her on his shoulders. He tried to sense any automata around, but rather found something more interesting. Their presence is so strange. Amon used his thunder eyes. Wow, I never thought to meet real aliens one day. Using his thunder eyes, what he saw was a mixture of a whale and fridge, dog and lance, cat and guitar, and many more. They were there, collecting coals and earth from the surface of the moon. Amon patted Rocky's back and teleported a few hundred kilometers away, the place where the aliens were working. Since Rocky's suit worked like a Faraday cage, Amon could teleport with her around, as electricity could circulate around it. Mapple is a member of the fox-type lineage. From a young age, he had dreamed of becoming a teacher. But the reality was dark. After a series of coincidences, he had chosen the path of space piracy. Reality hit him another time, as even after abandoning his dreams and choosing a dangerous and dark path, the path which is clad with the blood of different colors, he was a sheep of the bottom ladders. The only thing he can brag about is being an individual force, a man having his own army, even if all the members are cannon fodder as well. Today, however, ZZZ, his life would take another turn. ZZZ, will it be a turn for good? Only Mapple's fate shall decide it. As he teleported mid-air, Amon looked at the surprised face of strange creatures standing on the ground. He concluded flying was rare even in this vast space, or it could be that the aliens below just hadn't experienced life. "Hello, can you understand me?" Amon asked the basic question that he should have, but the aliens were immediately alarmed by his soothing voice. From the middle of the small crowd standing on the surface of the moon, a subordinate of Mapple, who looked like a humanoid cockroach, pointed a sniper towards Amon. Asterisk, Kiki, Wachakichi, Kikiki, Haguka, asterisk. The aliens started to talk amongst themselves. They seemed to conclude something. Something they shouldn't have. Quickly, the cockroach pointed its gun towards Raki and shot towards her head. Bang! It was a bullet faster than most guns from Earth. This was enough reason for Amon to take an interest in the weapons. Flowing electricity through his body, Amon entered bullet speed and moved Raki, who was on his shoulder, from the line of the bullet. Bullet speed. Even though it is called bullet speed, Amon was as fast as his limit speed. He didn't want to take any chance at this unknown bullet. After observing the bullet for 5 minutes, while Raki struggled, indicating the suit doing its effect, Amon shot 2 beams of lightning from 2 of his fingers. They clashed together and hit the bullet. After touching the beams, the bullet simply vaporized, but the clash of 2 lighting beams made the sound of cracking thunder. BOOM. The cause was a large explosion, though it was just sound. Asterisk, woo-ah. Asterisk. The aliens screamed in terror as if they were bugs. Ignoring them, Amon simply dropped to the ground and also dropped Raki as well. Ouch! Raki rubbed her helmet while Amon started to look around, ignoring the aliens. Found it? Amon lightly patted Rocky's back. Take care of them. They are only 500 here. Most of their army is on the other side of the planet. Raki flinched. Hey, I can't even move properly in this suit, and you want me to fight 500 of them? Amon acted as if he didn't hear her, and teleported from there. Hey, wait. Ugh, fuck. Gritting her teeth, Raki punched the ground. But soon, she slowly looked around her. Among the sounds of screeches, Raki realized how she was surrounded by 500 strange outer space creatures. Raki gulped. To them, one of the strange creatures abandoned another. This was their chance. Gritting her teeth for the second time, Raki touched her swords. Fuck, I'm not paid enough for this. All the aliens rushed towards Raki, while still keeping an eye on the battlefield with thunder eyes. Amon went towards a hole in the middle of the ground. I sensed it right. Amon stared in front of him with an emotionless face. It's hard to sense non-living objects or unconscious beings with observation hockey. Luckily, I have other, more efficient ways. Looking down at the robot body in front of him, Amon kept talking to himself. Automata. It was one of the automata. And from the looks of it, this certain robot was an automata originating from Earth, made by scientist Tsukimi. Amon possessed quite the knowledge about the One Piece world even from his previous world. So he wasn't surprised while meeting these creatures and this robot. He pointed his fingers at the robot and sent a bolt of electricity toward the body. 10 million volts, ZZZTHRA. It was enough to wake up the robot as it jumped up. The bot started to look around. Seeing that only Amon was in front of him, he saluted him instantly. "This is First Lieutenant Spacey. Thank you for saving me, Desu." Amon only stared at him. "I see. Mind explaining what happened here?" Although Amon said that in a demanding tone, the robot didn't see it as rudeness. It instantly started to explain things about his past. It wasn't anything interesting. A scientist named Tsukimi made for robots and named them automata. One day the guy died in shock as he observed a small explosion that occurred on the moon's surface from the Earth. The 4 automata came to the moon to avenge their creator. The automata are more human than humans, huh? Here on the moon, they met the heinous space pirates. The explosion was their doing. They had exploded several robots who had similar looks and names as the 4 automata, thinking they are racial cousins, and also to take revenge. The Earth automatas started to fight the pirates, taking the side of moon automata. They kept fighting for tens of years before their battery ran out. The last one whose battery ran out was him, Lieutenant Spacey. Luckily, Amon had just saved him. First Spacey failed to protect my people. The robot started to shed tears. It was a strange sight. Amon could even feel his emotion. Even with it, has a body made, if metal. He is a living being. A smirk formed on his face. How interesting. Is this the same with Seraph the bitch? It was an interesting question. But Seraph was something more interesting that Amon had theorized up until now, and Amon was aware. That's why he didn't finish her yet. "All right, Spacey. I have decided to help you and your people against these heinous pirates. Would you mind my help, eh?" Spacey's tears stopped falling. "Ah, really? You will help us, benefactor?" Amon nodded his head and picked up Spacey by grabbing his metal skull. He teleported with the metal robot. Doing this was indeed possible. Fuck. Rocky was cursing while running ahead. Thud. She fell on her face on the moon's surface, though it didn't hurt because of less gravity. Fuck, I couldn't even flee properly. It is so hard to adapt to the sudden change in atmosphere, ARG. She's been running for a few minutes now, and she's already tired. The lack of oxygen was having an impact on her body. Huff, bastard left me alone to die. Fucker always bullies me. Raki got up again and started to jump around like a kangaroo, evading the constant bullet shots. She knew this was supposed to be some kind of test, but she was still angry. Asterisk. Ha. Asterisk, meanwhile, with a spear-like weapon in his hand, Mapple dashed forward and was about to stab Raki in the heart. ZZZ. But Anan, who is light in itself, teleported in the middle and grabbed the spear-like weapon mid-air. "Wow, Raki, you are weak," Amon said while his hand was stopping the fox-type alien from moving, but his face was turned around towards Raki. Wah. Raki hugged Amon tightly. Just now, she was scared shit. She couldn't even move properly because of the lack of oxygen. She even forgot that Amon was the reason for her suffering and hugged him tightly. Amon patted her helmet and looked at the aliens. "I'm curious, can you guys endure more electricity than a normal human pirate?" Amon didn't wait for the aliens to answer him, since he won't understand their language anyway. He just flowed electricity through the spear-like weapon started to shock the fox-type. Amon shocked Mapple until he was unconscious. It seems the alien endured less than humans. It's most likely a case similar to fishmen. just like how some species are sturdier than others. Thinking such, Amon glanced at the other troops, who took a step back after seeing his devilish smile. Asterisk, creech, creech. Asterisk, no matter what race or what language. Fear was a common aspect of all living beings. Thunder God, form second. Amon wasn't courteous enough to go easy on unknown weapons and techniques though. He became a small child of 140 centimeters, though he still kept his mass. This was his flexible form, so he is not only fast but also flexible. After making everyone fall unconscious, Amon didn't kill to use them later. He was then led by Spacey towards the underground advanced civilized city, Burka. This is Burka, the dead city. Spacey stared ahead silently. Amon and Raki also stared ahead of him. It was a strange sight. Everything was still dark. The thousands of automata who were under the shadow of buildings, looked out of their life. Brother, this is called Burka. Raki was a little confused, but she felt strange in the silence. Amon looked at her eyes for a second before looking ahead again. They were simply out of charge. There aren't enough resources left in Moon 1 for them to generate electricity and charge them. Amon thought internally. Lack of electricity. Theft. While Amon was laughing internally, Spacey was crying. Sniff, our cousin robots have been sleeping for a long time. There are no ways to awaken them. He was crying yet again. It was kind of annoying. Amon looked in front of him while Raki had already taken off her helmet and was massaging her head. In the tight spot, her body had managed to adapt to this place sooner than she should have. Part of it was thanks to her Shandian bloodline. Raki wasn't able to finish her curse as Amon smacked her head. He was still looking at the scene ahead. Looking up where the ground was in place of the sky, Amon grinned. Spacey, are your 3 Earth Automata friends also here, lined up neatly? Sniff. They are. Spacey wiped his tears. Amon raised his hand. All right, step back a little. Amon didn't really need them to step back. He said it to look cool. Amon had his hand raised. His hand went blue as thousands of strings made of electricity were thrown forward. 1,000 lightning strings, ZZZ, ZZZT. In an instant, the whole city came back to life. They regained their light. Everything that worked in electricity and battery regained their life. The automata weren't any exception. Be benefactor. In a second, the lieutenant of automata, Spacey, was shocked to his core. His kind was regaining life. What a miracle. Among the thousands of automata, there was an oddball. Or would it be better to say, there were some oddballs. It is the heinous